Welcome everybody, the participants of the Staff Academy who decreased a little bit. Yesterday Breda was still here, she talked to me and she was telling me, or she was apologizing that she's not able to attend this presentation, but she has a very important appointment on Friday. So she probably right now is on her way back to Ireland. Hi, Buffers. I'm very happy to welcome also some colleagues of the mathematics department of the University of Crete. Great that you could make it here. Okay, so this is about online assessment applying the STACK concept. STACK is a very good and very powerful tool. There's mathematics behind it. And to tell you the truth, at the beginning, when we met online at Tina's online meeting, I was a little bit concerned because everybody was introducing himself and telling from which field she was. And we have language scientists, we have medical dentists, from ethics, IT, so everything but no mathematics, no engineering, nothing like that. But I think from the presentations I heard yesterday and the day before yesterday, I was quite inspired. At least, although the presentations were from complete other fields when I think of Mercedes or Elisabetta, the role play with the ethics, and very nice, or yesterday from Miriam, it made me really think and reflect about how can I include AI into my lectures. So maybe it's interesting for you, maybe not, but I'm telling you a little bit about this. So a short introduction of myself. The participants of the Staff Academy, they know me in Bovila. I'm Peter, and I'm from the University of Applied Sciences. I became a professor there in the year 2004, a professor for technical mechanics. But as it is at the University of Applied Sciences, over the years you teach different modules. For me, it's mainly technical mechanics and mathematics. At the moment, I'm also teaching a module in multi-body dynamics and robotics. But over the years, I've taught various modules. It works like the head of the department is coming and telling me, oh, the colleague who's teaching fluid dynamics, he will be in a foreign country next semester. Can you take that over? And so once in a while, I've been instructing this for a couple of semesters. Programming was really strange because when I was studying, I never had a lecture in programming. I'm not bad in programming, but I teach everything to myself. So I never had a lecture, so you have to think how to teach it. But it turned out to be really fun. I like to teach this, and I was really disappointed when a new colleague was coming and taking this over. So I had to, I don't teach it anymore. And finite element method, that's also some kind of technical mechanics. Okay, and what I'm telling my students in the very first lecture in technical mechanics and in mathematics is that it is not sufficient just to attend the lectures. The students have to work on problems themselves, otherwise they will never learn it. And so you have to get the students working because they don't believe you. They don't believe you at the beginning. So you have to make them working because they are used from school that the teacher tells them to do that and to do that homework, and otherwise they don't do anything. And it's still the same in the first year of studying. And we have an additional problem in Germany. The age of our beginners has decreased. So our beginners are usually 18 years old now. This is because of political developments. About a couple of years ago, I think it was in the year 2011, the military duty was dropped in Germany. So they don't have to do that anymore. They can go right from school to studying. And another thing in the southwestern region of Germany, where Karlsruhe is located, is that the school year was dropped. It's instead of 13, it was 13 before, now it's 12. So instead of 20 or 21, the students are now 18 when they start to study, and they are not so self-reliant than at a little bit older age. So you really have to guide them somehow. By the way, this presentation, I will show you I will explain you something about STACK, first in a little presentation. When we are going to make a live demonstration on the INGENIUM model, and I wanted to activate you a little bit in a kind of workshop so you can create your own first STACK problem. But this will probably not work since not everybody, or maybe only some of you, will be able to do that. We talk about that later, or we'll see that later. So I'm not sure if I can fill the full hour, but it's not a problem. Okay. Okay, so what do you do to get the students working? You usually assign homework to them. Now that is absolutely necessary, but my experiences at the beginning were not so good with the written homework, with the assigned homework, because there was a big correctional and organizational effort. You give the homework to the students, they work it out in paper, they turn the paper in, and you have to correct all of it. So you have to find studentical tutors, you have to give them money to do the work, and it's lots of work. And another bad thing is that the students get the feedback quite late. They don't get the feedback right after they solve the problem. They get it many days or maybe weeks later. And then they don't check the problem. They don't recheck the problem anymore. Much better would be an immediate feedback right after solving the problem. Still a very big problem in Germany. I don't know how it is in other countries, but in Germany, students, they have the sport to fool the professor. It's kind of a sport for German students, so they often simply copy the solution from fellow students. So usually if I have 50 students and they get the homework, maybe 5 students solve the homework problems and the rest is copying it. So only 5 students working on the problems, and the big effort that really made me think about if this is really effectful. And still another problem, you can bet. At the beginning, I tell them it's very important to turn in on time. They have a certain date where they have to turn in the homework, and later turn-ins are not accepted. That's what I say at the beginning. And you can bet that at the day of the first turn-in, always at least one student is coming and saying, "Professor, I forgot the homework, can you make an exception?" and things like that. And that made me mad all the time. So something new had to be there, and that was STAG. Making online assignments with STAG. STAG, as I told you, a powerful tool. STAG stands for System for Teaching and Assessment Using a Computer Algebra Kernel. And using a computer algebra kernel tells us that STAG is backed up by a computer algebra system. So it has many abilities which traditional online assessment systems do not have. And I'm going to introduce some of these features to you very soon. STAG is a free plugin. It doesn't cost anything. You can get it download it from the internet for learning management systems, but there's a little downside. It only works for the learning management Moodle and Elias. Elias is a learning management system which is quite common in Germany. We use it at Karlsruhe. Moodle is very common. It's probably the most common learning management system. It's also freeware. You can download it free. You don't have to pay. The university doesn't have to pay anything for it. And it was developed by Chris Sanguin. Chris is a mathematics professor from the University of Edinburgh. And he developed STAG for Moodle because the University of Edinburgh also has the learning management system Moodle. But he developed it around, I think it was around 2015. But soon after he developed it, there was also a version for Elias. So we installed it in Karlsruhe, and I'm using it maybe since 2018, so for about 7 years. Okay. Special features, that's only some of them, but in my opinion, the most important features about this, very important, mathematical expressions, which can be matrices, for example, equations, functions, whatever you can think of. They may be put in as a solution, and STAG is able to interpret this mathematical expression. Let me give you a quick example. For example, here, in this problem, a mathematical function is given. This is the given function, and you have to find the derivative, the first derivative of this function. So the student has to think about how the derivative looks like, and he puts in the solution. But there are many different ways to put in a mathematical expression like this. For example, take the factor 7 over 2. You can put it at the very beginning of the expression. You can put it at the very end. Or take this to the power of 5 over 2. That means to the power of 5 and then the square root of that. So you could express that also in a different way. And so many ways to write in, to type in the correct solution. And but then you can push or you can click this verification button and you get an answer how STACK interprets the expression. And here we can see that the expression is interpreted correctly. So STACK is able to interpret all kinds of mathematical expressions. You can randomize values, which is also a very important point, because as I told you, students tend to copy solutions, especially if they cannot solve a problem. They just ask their fellow students, what was your result? And they put it in themselves. By randomizing the values, each student gets a different problem, an individualized problem, and that really forces him to really work on the problem by himself. Everybody has to deal with his own problem. Gone are the times when the solution is put in a WhatsApp group and everybody has the solution and puts it in. Okay, another important point is immediate feedback. The students get immediate feedback. They put in the answer, they can click a check button and they get the feedback right away, right after determining the answer. And the feedback can be individual, depending on the expression the student put in as answer. There can be an individual feedback which is produced by a response tree, which of course has to be developed by the developer of a STACK problem. Also, interactive graphical elements are possible. I will show you some later. Graphical solutions are said to be to increase the understanding, the level of understanding of students, and therefore very important to deal also with interactive graphical solutions or interactive graphic elements. So maybe at this point of time, let's take a look at one of my STACK problems from the Technical Mechanics. This is a problem I created for my Mechanics of Materials course. It probably doesn't say much to you, but that's not so much of importance. There's a beam. The beam is stressed by a bending moment. And this is the profile of a cross-section of a beam. And you can see there are various measurements. You have a width of an upper edge, which is B1, the width of a lower edge, which is B2, the height of a profile is H, and the thickness of the profile parts is T. And these values here, these values are randomized, so they are different for each student. So everybody has to start calculating by himself. And the answer which is searched for here are the stresses, the maximum tension stress and the maximum compressive stress in the beam. But before you can determine the stresses, you have to do several other calculations before that. And usually, if a student sees a problem like that, he doesn't know where to start. So you have somehow try to guide him. And you can guide him by asking in a certain sequence. To determine these stresses, you first have to determine a section modulus. But you can only determine a section modulus if the area moments of inertia are known. So you have to do that before. And you only can determine these area moments of inertia if the location of the area center is known. So this way, the students are kind of guided through the problem. I think yesterday, or was it on Tuesday, somebody was also reporting that it sometimes makes sense to split a complicated problem into several parts. And so I think it makes also here sense. Okay, so the student starts calculating on a piece of paper. He wants to determine the location of the area center first. And after some calculation, he finds the solution. 112.4 millimeters, which he can put into the answer window. And after putting in the answer, he can click the check button down here. Then he clicks the check button and he gets an immediate feedback for this answer. So he clicks, he goes down here. Where's my mouse? Here. Clicks the check button. And here's the feedback. The answer is correct. And now the student knows that he's going into the other parts of the problem with the guaranteed correct answer. So this value is correct, so he knows with this value he can now start determining the area moments of inertia. So he starts with an area moment of inertia about the y-axis. Again, calculating on a piece of paper, putting in a value, 4,645. Again, applying the check button. It's a little bit far below, you cannot see it now, and applying the check button. Again, receiving immediate feedback. And in case the feedback is negative, here the answer is not correct, there might be a hint or maybe an individual feedback. Yes, it's an individual feedback. You determine the area moments of inertia about the z-axis, but he has to determine it about the y-axis. So that is maybe a common mistake students do once in a while. Note that here the area moment about the y-axis is asked for. So the student can correct his results. He can. I always put the settings in a way that it can be corrected as often as they like. So he can put another value in, he has to calculate again, put another value in, and he made another mistake here. This value is also not correct, but he made another mistake. You missed to consider the parallel axis theorem. So he is told what he has done wrong. So he can try over and over and over with all parts of a problem until he gets positive approval for every part of the problem. In this way, by making mistakes, the students are allowed to make mistakes, they can correct the result, they have a learning experience, and by repeatedly solving these kind of problems, they get a certain routine in solving this kind of problems, and the learning knowledge is deepened. They will not forget this anymore. Okay, there are various other possibilities with STACK. For example, multiple choice problems can also be developed with STACK. Of course, here these values are also again randomized, and depending on these values, certain answers are created. But it's not in a way that always the second or always the fourth answer is correct. Each time a different answer can be correct. All answers are developed by the system. And so, again, the student is forced to determine the answer, so he gets an idea which of these values may be correct. Checking does not really make sense here or allow repeatedly tries, because, I mean, if you allow 5 tries, they get the solution sooner or later. So maybe it makes more sense here to allow only 1 try. Here's another example for a multiple choice problem. We have a planetary gear with, again, a couple of values here given. Again, these are randomized. Here in this problem, I made it in a way that the answers are always equal for all students, but depending on the values the students get, all answers can be correct once in a while. And the student doesn't know at the beginning which one is. Okay, and then we have interactive graphical elements, as I told you. For example, here, interactive solutions with graphical solutions are in mechanics often done by force diagrams, adding forces in diagrams, adding velocities in velocity diagrams or accelerations. You don't know that, but forces, velocities, accelerations, which are vectors, since they have a magnitude and they have a direction. So they are vectors. The vectors have to be added by just putting them behind each other to find the solution. So again, these vectors can be shifted, they can be extended, they can be rotated, so they can be put behind each other. And after doing it in a correct manner, again, the student can check if the solution is correct. I will have a demonstration later on the INGENIUM. By the way, this is the logo of STACK, which you can find on my pages. This is the STACK logo. Okay, here I made some discussion about assets and liabilities. The assets should be clear by now. We have some guidance for the students if we create multi-part problems. Students get immediate and sometimes specific feedback on their answer. We have an automized assessment, so no studentical tutors have to be paid for correctional effort. We have a digitalization of exercises, which should be the case somehow in modern universities. And as I just said, no studentical graders are necessary anymore. There is also a big liability, I think, which I should also mention. Of course, you now have no real control anymore how the students solve the problems, if they do it properly, if they do it systematic. For example, if they write down equations, numerate the equations, or if they solve a mechanical problem, do they draw free body diagrams, which is always necessary if you want to solve a mechanical problem. So you don't have a control on that, since the students only put in the results they determined. Okay, it might be interesting what the students think of these digitalized homeworks. And in the evaluation generally, I receive positive comments. The positive comments clearly outweigh the negative comments. It's like in this ratio, which I show here. But generally, they like this kind of homework, the immediate feedback, and they can repeatedly try to find the correct solution and all that. Let's maybe take a look at the negative comments. One guy, for example, thought the weekly homeworks don't leave time for other modules. But if homeworks takes too much time for him, he has to think about maybe just drop a module in the semester and do one less, so he finds enough time to really learn mechanics. This one just didn't like homeworks. Not all browsers supported the graphical elements. This used to be a problem. There were some browsers which did not support these elements, but I haven't heard of this in the recent years, so I think this problem does simply not exist anymore. All browsers seem to work in the meanwhile, and one guy complained about the degree of difficulty of homework, too much expenditure of time. Well, you get lots of data if you analyze the statistics, and you can see that some students solve the problems in 2 hours and some need 10 hours for it. So there's a very big difference between good and not so good students. And if the students are not so good, they have to simply work more to accomplish the same. And as I told you, they have to plan maybe a little bit different, make one module less in a semester, but therefore pass all the modules he's doing. Okay, let's sum this up a little bit. The stack concept, I tell you later, the stack concept is, in my opinion, a very valuable tool with new features for online assessment, new features, for example, on mathematical evaluation and interpretation of the answers, individual feedback, randomization of numerical values, graphical elements, and also other good things, other valuable things. It widens the possibilities of e-learning in technical courses. It is accepted and also appreciated by the majority of students. That is my experience. And will be furtherly developed in direction of learning analytics. That's my plan. As I just told you, I have lots of statistical data about students, for example, how long they work on the problems. You can try to find a correlation for their later grades in the exam and how long they had to work on the problems, how successful they have been, and so on, and analyze this data a little bit in the future. The INGENIUM Moodle, I gave you lots of information. I will show you very soon, but you are not in my Moodle course, so you cannot access that information. But on this internet address, I also dropped lots of files. You can also reach this internet address with this QR code. So you may photograph it if you want to have an address. And I put some files there which contain good links and some guides for creating stack problems and some other things which might be useful. So that is the presentation for first. So let's take a look in my INGENIUM Moodle course. Okay, I created this course not a long time ago, and I have two participants in the course I can show you. One participant is Breda, who left us, and the other participant is Michael Hall. I think he belongs to the steering committee of Irish University. So Michael and Breda, okay, both not here, so they cannot work on any stack problem within the course or within the class. You might be able to, but let's first make a little live demonstration here. I imported some of my stack problems into this course. I translated them. Now, I don't think I translated them. Let's take a look. I put them into a quiz. So let's activate this quiz. So, okay, this is problem number 5 in the quiz, but it contains graphical elements. Let's go back. I just wanted to start with another problem. No, let's go back into the quiz. Okay, still that problem. I have to admit I'm not too much comfortable with Moodle since I usually work with Elias. I really have to get accustomed to this system. Okay, now this is a beam which is loaded by two forces. We have a force here, we have another force here. Here we have a line load, here's a bearing, a support, and here's clamp support. So the first thing the students had to do, determine the bearing forces. I put in arbitrary values here. So, because I didn't simply want to calculate them. But the main thing is the graphical part. The students have to determine the shear force diagram and the moment diagram along the beam. So, determining the shear force at any point of a beam and also the bending moment at any point of a beam. And here you can simply shift these elements. You can shift them. The magnitude is shown. So put in the correct magnitude. There might be a drop here, maybe something like that. Yeah, could look like that. The bending moment diagram is, by the way, the beam is a fixed element, so you cannot shift the beam. It stays at the place. The bending moment might be a little bit different since at the location where you have a line load, you have a parabolic curve. And for the other sections, you have a linear curve. So it might look like this. You can also shift here the points. And after that, you can, okay, try another question. I've already tried it yesterday before I went to the wonderful dinner. Okay, my solution, of course, was wrong because I didn't calculate anything and I don't know the solution now, so let me put in any values. Okay, so let's shift a little bit. Might look like this. And the moment diagram, maybe as you just saw it, but I don't know the correct values. The parabolic part could be like this. Okay, so let's apply the check button, which is blue here in Moodle. In Elias it was red. And let's see if we received an answer. Of course, the answer is not correct. And okay, this is German, so it tells me that at least one bearing reaction does not fit. And so all bearing reactions were checked here at once. And we also have feedback to the graphical solutions, which are of course also not correct. Here we just get this answer that both solutions are not correct. So again, we can overwork it and try a better solution. I wonder if I can, the previous page is probably not the quiz anymore. If we can get back to the last question. Okay, I don't really know. Let's try the next page. Okay, this is about thermodynamics. Also with a graphical part here, you can also shift some elements and put them where they belong, however it works. And let's not go through this. Okay, so here a question to you. Which of you have Moodle learning management system? I guess nobody has in years at his own university. You have Moodle in Romania. In your presentation, you also had some Moodle parts, I saw that. But in XAMPP, you also, and at the University of Crete, you also have Moodle. By the way, I was told that at the University of Crete, they will install the Stack plugin very soon. So you would be able to work with it if you want.
Really? No, it is not installed yet.
It is not installed yet.
If we were thinking, I learned about it with the admin of the platform by you a few weeks ago. So if it is some interest, maybe in the next update or something. No, we didn't know about that.
Actually, it's in a way that there are some universities all over various countries. There are some hotspots where they installed the Stack plugin, and there are some people who are very competent with Stack and develop it further. And there are some universities who don't even know about Stack yet. So, but I think it will grow increasingly the number of mathematicians, of engineers who know about this tool. So there's even a Stack community and a Stack conference taking place every year where new ideas are presented, new ideas for developing everything further. Chris Sanguin, the developer of Stack, is always present. I know him personally, I talk with him, and he's a nice guy. And you can try, or let's check if Stack is installed at your university. And XAMPP you can check also, just enter Moodle. Are you in the XAMPP Moodle? Enter it. And once you entered it, you can try to create a question. Let's stop this test, finish attempt. You can, if you are in a course and you can get here to the question bank, you should be able at XAMPP too, and at your, how's it called, IASI? IASI, the same, question bank. So enter the question bank.
Moodle already has something like that. It has that functionality for questions, for creating a question bank. And we can create quizzes based on those questions. We can set them randomly inside the quiz, or by categories, or number of questions per category, something like that.
There are several categories which you will soon see. So let me go into the...
I think that you can, in your task, the changes the numbers. It's different to when you do a model. If you do a model event exam, and you can't, it doesn't change. You just make some pattern there. It's always the same numbers. So I think
But I'm sure at XAMPP, I think the Finnish are very advanced with Stack.
Yeah.
At the conferences, I always saw participants from Finland. So I think XAMPP has surely Stack, but you can check it now. If you go into the question bank and you push the button, create a new question. So you have here many possibilities of question types which are listed here. For example, multiple choice questions or true or false, or you can use it for any subject, also for language science or whatever is present here. And if you go all the way down, I at least find the stack possibility because it is installed on the INGENIUM Moodle. It was installed before because of me. So if you apply this button, you get the possibility to develop a stack problem. So did you find it at XAMPP?
The connection is very slow.
Okay.
I'll try another connection.
Let's wait a couple of seconds, but it's really interesting for me.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
All of you should have an account. You can log in the INGENIUM platform. So if you want to, we don't have time to ask you as a teacher, whatever.
Probably not, but I mean the data you can definitely find on the internet address I showed you. Okay, so I click the button Add. And yeah, now I can develop a stack problem. Category, I have some categories already. One category is sample stack problem, so let's put it in there. Question name might be first stack problem. The keyboard does not work very good here. First stack problem. Okay. And basically, you only have to fill out two windows here. You definitely have to fill out the question text window, which is down here, and the question variables window, which these two are usually enough. So let's make a very simple problem. Let's make the addition of two numbers. Let's make it like solve, colon. Where's the colon here? It's here. An easy problem, maybe 5 plus 3 equals, and now we put in here the input answer. The input answer will later be the answer window. So here there will appear a window, and the answer which the student types in will be assigned to this variable, which means answer 1. And that's the validation of the answer, which is possible or not possible. Here it is not necessary, because if a student puts in the digit 8, for example, it's not validation is not necessary. Validation makes sense if you have a complicated mathematical expression. So that should be it already. We can make it bold so you can see it a little bit better, maybe like this. So the system has to know the true answer, and the true answer is saved under this variable. TA1 means true answer 1. Here the true answer should be clear. It's 8. So let's assign 8 to this variable, and yeah, that was it already. The feedback or the response tree for the feedback, it can be also put into the question text window. Let me do that. I like that more. Okay, we can save for first. Let's save at the end. Okay, now you have various possibilities. You can define feedback. We don't do that at the moment. It's simply not necessary. Here you can award a certain amount of points. Now, if a problem is very complicated, it has many parts, you award more points. If a problem is very simple, like this one, you simply award 1 point. And here you can give a penalty. So if a student is giving a wrong answer, 0.1 or 10% of the maximum points are subtracted. Now you can define it this way, or you can be like you don't subtract anything, which I usually do. So the students can be relaxed when they solve a problem. You can leave more feedback here, but everything is not necessary. Necessary is maybe this, the input window. You can define a couple of things here. Algebraic input is okay if a number is expected. The model answer is TA1, true answer 1. And the input box size, 15 is pretty wide. So it's maybe much too wide for a 1-digit answer. So let's make it a little bit smaller, maybe 4. Some other stuff. I think validation here is not necessary, so verification, let's make it a no. But you can experiment with these options you have here. And now here's the response tree. And at the response tree is here very small, only 2 options, true or false. If it's true, 1 point is awarded, the full number of points. If the answer is false, no point is awarded. Description is not necessary. And you have many options about deciding if the answer is correct. You can, for example, check the algebraic equivalence. I don't know how to... Equivalency. But you can also... You see many options, relative deviation from the real value or absolute deviation and many other things. But let's leave it to algebraic equivalency. So that's the true answer, TA1. That's the studentical answer, ANS1, saved under these variables. So these are compared. And here you can leave another comment. For example, if the answer was correct, you can still give feedback. For example, good job, congratulations or something. And if the answer is wrong, you can give him a hint. For example, if you have 5 apples and 3 apples, how many is it altogether? Or you can put a text here which is shown if a student is giving the wrong answer. So that was it. So let's save it. And now we can check what has happened. It's this one, first stack problem. So let's have a preview. And here we can see it. Now that's the problem. Solve 5 plus 3. Let's put in a wrong answer, for example, 9. And check the answer. And we get immediate feedback, incorrect answer, and the text which are put in for the wrong answer, which is not a real text here. This is not shown, this is only for the preview, but this is not shown if you put it into a test, the real answer, because the student should be able to repeatedly try to solve the problem. Okay, but this problem is very simple. We should have a possibility of randomization. So let's close the preview and take a look at the problem again. Edit it again. We now want to randomize the values. So each student gets a different problem. Again, edit the question. And you have to do that here in the windows with the question variables. What you put in here is actually Maxima code. Maxima is the computer algebra system which backs up the stack tool. And here you have to put in Maxima code. So, for example, this column is the assignments. The value of 8 is assigned to this variable. So if you want to add different numbers each time, we have to create these numbers. Let's call them A and B. And now there are various functions in Maxima with which you can create random variables. One function, for example, is rand with step. Rand, where's the underline here? I think it's here. Rand with step. So you have to give the range of numbers where you want to have your values. Let's say I want to have my values between 2 and 57. And I want to have all values between them. So the step is 1. And this line creates, to finish it with a semicolon, this line creates an arbitrary number between 2 and 57. Now, all numbers between 2 and 57 can be created by this command. And there's another command, for example, the command rand. If you make only rand, you have to tell the system among which numbers one has to be chosen. And these have to be put into a bracket. Let's take the numbers 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. So one of these is chosen for B. Okay, I have my trouble with his keyboard. Okay. And let's go to the question text window. So we cannot leave it this way. We want to have A and B to be added. So if we put just A here, it is written just as A as the question text. So there's a certain syntax that this is defined as a variable. And the syntax looks like this. So now the value which is standing behind A is taken. We have to do the same thing for B. Then we can check how it works. Okay, so that should work, but the true answer is now not 8 anymore. What is the true answer? It's A plus B, of course. So let's put in here A plus B. So the true answer is determined here. And now we can check if it works. So let's save it. Where's the problem? Here. Preview. And yeah, that's the problem. So these are the numbers which are randomly chosen for A and B. So you have to add them. And if you do it correctly, the result is 43. And you check it, you get positive approval or positive feedback as put into the system. Okay, but these are very simple problems. Problems can, of course, be much more complicated. So if we take a look at the development area, for example, for the mechanics of materials problems I showed you earlier, you can see that there is much more text on the maxima part. But you can also use no, actually, that's not the one I wanted to have. No, doesn't really matter. So it's simply more text, more variables. And you have a couple of solutions here, solution 1 till solution 5. Okay, another very valuable thing which I put in here are the links. And I think the really best link is the link of Chris Sanguin, the stack demonstration site. So let's have a quick look on that one. That's the page of Chris Sanguin. And let's have a demonstration on problems with graphical elements where JSXGraph is used. By the way, I have to log in. Okay, I have a username. Okay, and here's are some examples for JSXGraph question. Here's a demo. Let's take a look at the demo question. For example, here a graph is created and we have to identify the function of this graph. So let's take a quick look at it. Might look like a sine function which is shifted one to the top. So it might be sine x plus 1, I would estimate, but let's check it. That's German language. I did not. I think he has all kinds of languages on his site. So what is the feedback here? Okay, it was correct. So let's take a look at another problem. Yeah, I don't like this one. Let's proceed. Area under a curve. I want to have something interactive. By the way, the problems you find on the site of Chris Sanguin, you can download them. You can all have them. You don't have to create anything. He has a big variety of problems which you can put on your own Moodle system and use them in assignments. For example, here we have a linear function given as y equals 4 times x plus 1. And the graph is a line. And we have to put in the graph so it represents this function. the function intersects the y-axis at the point 1. We can see that at this value. So let's put the a on this point. Should be possible to shift it. There it is. And the slope of a line is 4. 4 going up. So if x becomes 1 larger, y becomes 4 larger, so it becomes 5. So that should be the correct graph representing this function. So let's check this, get a feedback or an answer. Okay, that is strange. Here they say, please answer all parts of the problem. I don't know why that is, because the solution was certainly correct. But what else can I answer here? Let's put B here and A to the other place. Maybe that works. No. Okay, that is strange. I don't know what that is. Good. This is the easy problem. Drag the points U1 to U8 so that they show the first 8 terms of an increasing sequence. Well, increasing sequence if each one is larger than the last one, so it should be something like this. Let's check that. Okay, same problem. Please answer all parts of a problem. I don't know why that is. Okay, so let's go back to the JSXGraph demo. There should be possibilities. Question bank with these examples. That's an XML file. So if you download these XML files, you can import them into your Moodle system. You need the XML file, and then there's an import function, and then you have all the problems on your Moodle server at the University of Crete. And it might be valuable. Maybe you should try. Okay, yeah, that's all I wanted to tell you. I think everything I keep on telling here might become too boring, since I already said you are not too much into mathematics, so it's I don't know how interesting this is for you. So maybe, I don't know if there are questions or comments. So I'm done. I'm through, if it is okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions from teachers? Comments?
Clever program.
How about the documentation?
Recommendation.
Documentation.
Lots of, go to Chris Sanguine's site or go to my site where I dropped some files. There is lots of documentation, but the most you can find on Chris Sanguine's site. And if you go to my data, which you can access under the address or the QR code, you find the link to Chris' site, to this site. Then there are workshops there are documentations and instructions, everything. Yeah, maybe you should try. I think it would be a big win also for the University of Crete. Or you can also find the problems which I developed. So if you copy them, I'm happy to share them. You can take a look at the development area, and if you have any problems, you can check how I've solved the problem and do it the same way.
Okay, any other questions?
I think it's really good to, because you share this knowledge to everything.
Yeah.
And I think in teaching we should go to this that we don't do unnecessary tasks.
Yeah.
So you have created something that is unnecessary. You can concentrate on something else, like being with your your students or something like that.
I mean, Chris is also sharing. He developed this system. He developed many problems, very good problems with graphical elements and all that stuff. I developed mechanical problems, about 300 to 400. Took me time between 1,000 and 2,000 hours, really lots of time.
Yeah,
but it was really worth it, and I like to develop these problems, and I also like to share them.
Yes,
They work.
It took a lot of time for you.
The problem is they're all in German, so if somebody wants to use them, he has to translate them.
Yes, yes. But now you have done the big work, you don't have to do it every time. It saves you.
Yeah. Now it's very easy. Some mouse clicks, you have your quiz, and the
Yes.
students, they have to work on it.
Yes. It's really good.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, thank you.